Hi friends, welcome back to Stay Fresh with Peanut. We're going to learn how to make a circle cardstock Freshie today. I'm using our 4-inch round circle silicone mold. And this is a 3-inch cardstock. In the description below is a link to the 3-inch cardstock hole puncher if you don't have a Cricut to cut out your cardstock. Also, there are cardstock makers you can purchase the 3-inch cardstock from. Now, before I get started, you always want to apply a roofing nail if you're not going to use a drill. And I like to pre-measure the aroma beads. That way I know exactly how much aroma beads I need for my Freshie. Then I'm going to pour into a bag or a container and add my favorite pigment. I'm using Rocket Red. Carefully add a little pigment or mica at a time. Adding too much pigment or mica can cause your beads not to bake in the middle of your Freshie. A common question that is asked a lot is how much pigment to add. Here I will show you in this video how much pigment I added. After I added just a little bit, I shake the bag. Shake it really good. You should still be able to see through the bag. Now I'm going to open it up, pour some in my hand, and give you a closer look of how your aroma bead should look if you evenly coat it. Okay, so that looks perfect. Now, purposely, I'm going to add extra pigment and mica so you can see what the aroma beads look like when you add too much pigment or mica. First thing you will notice is that your bag is too cloudy. You can hardly see through the bag. Another indicator is that your aroma beads will look very dusty. Here's a close-up of the aroma beads. You can see I added way too much pigment. Okay, so the only way to fix this is by adding aroma beads. So I'm adding some more aroma beads, and I'm going to give it a good shake. Now I have to take some out just to take a look at it. And I'm not too happy, so I'm going to add just a little bit more aroma beads. By doing so, I'm spreading out the pigment, and you'll see that my bag will go from dusty and back to clear, so now you can almost see through the bag again. Here's a look of my aroma beads back to what they originally were, and I'm very happy with how they look. Next, I'm going to take my cardstock and I'm going to place it facing down in the silicone mold. Now is when you want to sprinkle your glitter on the outer edge of the mold and add your roofing nail if you're going to be using one. The roofing nail will serve as a hole later to draw your elastic through the hole to hang up your Freshie. I used my finger to hold my cardstock in place while I poured in my aroma beads. I'm using SFWP Prime Aroma Beads. I'm using the flat bottom of my pigment just to pat down the beads to make them all level. Our prime unscented aroma beads have been rigorously tested to ensure absorption with all of our fragrance oil, quality assurance, and consistency. For our specific red molds, I'm filling it up all the way to the top, and then I'm baking in our oven at 345 for 15 minutes. It's very important to know that each oven is different, so you might want to test your baking time starting at 12 minutes and then increasing it in 1-minute increments. 15 minutes later, and here's our Freshie. This is how your Freshie should look when it's baked properly. In our oven, you can still see the spikes on the side, but you can see and you can tell just by looking that it still holds the shape of the beads and it properly baked all the way around. Now, while the Freshie is warm, this is also a very important next step. You want to press down the sides gently to push down the spikes. This is optional. Now, I don't want my Freshie to bake anymore, so I'm going to carefully take it off of my pan and allow it to cool down. It's very important to allow your Freshie to completely cool down before you start to demold. While it's still hot, use a damp paper towel, a silicone brush, or a damping blending sponge to press down the aroma beads in the mold. This is optional as well. Taking the Freshie out too soon of your mold can cause the shape of the Freshie to deform, so it's very important to wait until it's completely cooled down. Then press carefully with your thumbs to pop the Freshie out of the mold. What I love about the cardstock round Freshie is that they're very simple to make. It doesn't require any glue, and you will have no problem using the cardstock in your mold when you're baking your Freshie. I'm using a 1/8 drill bit to drill my hole, giving about a little bit room from the top. This is also very important not to push your hole, make a hole too close to the top of the Freshie. I'm using elastic string. You can also use a jute twine or a leather string to hang your Freshie. Then another option is using an ice screw. I listed below in the description, you can use a 1-inch ice screw. Here I'm using a little bit over a 1/2 inch ice screw. Then I'm taking a lighter, heating the ice screw while carefully holding it. Then I'm applying some E6000 glue. You have to do this very quickly while it's still hot and press hard in the center of the Freshie on the top. And this will hold in place as long as it's still hot while doing so. If your ice screw doesn't screw in right away, it's because it cooled down too quickly in the process. So all you have to do to fix this is just reheat it again with your lighter, and then it should just slide right in. This is an example of a 1-inch ice screw. This Freshie was made by the Tattered Gypsy. And just wanted to give you a real quick example of how the size difference is between a 1-inch ice screw and then a little bit over a 1/2 inch ice screw that I used. But both of them will work fine. Next, I'm going to take my precision tip bottle applicator. This is used with the apple barrel matte paint to decorate my Freshie. Now, it's very important while the paint's still wet to apply your glitter, so I'm going to do a little bit at a time while rotating around the Freshie. The description to the precision tip bottles and the apple barrel matte paint is in the description below. After I allow my paint to dry, I'm going to gently tap off the excess glitter and use a soft brush to brush it off. Freshies are custom air fresheners that can be used for your cars or any small space. The fragrances can last 2 to 4 weeks for light fragrances and longer for stronger fragrances. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to be notified of future tutorials. Don't forget to #LiveLikePeanut.